I wanted to divorce my husband 100 times. And now, I would give anything to hear him snore one more night. I'm 88 years old. My husband and we were married for 65 years. People look at us and say, "Oh, you stayed together a lifetime. You must be soulmates." But let me tell you the truth. In those 65 years, I wanted to divorce that man, Lord, at least 100 times. I mean it. Not just a passing thought when we were bickering. I mean looking at the back of his head on the couch and wanting to throw his bags out onto the front lawn, get in my beat-up Chevy, and never look back. Or listening to his snoring in the middle of the night and thinking about calling a lawyer first thing in the morning just to get him out of my house. But he passed away last autumn. Now it's just me in this house. I thought I'd finally have some peace. But I miss him. I miss the very things that used to drive me crazy. I'm not here to preach to you today. I just want to tell you how we survived the times I almost walked out the door. He wasn't a grand romantic. He didn't bring home roses or whisper sweet things at the sink. He brought home motor oil on his cuffs and the smell of metal and factory dust clinging to his jacket. His boots left faint marks by the door, no matter how many times I told him to wipe them. His hands were always rough, cracked in the winter, nicked across the knuckles, dark around the nails from years at the plant. Even on our wedding day, when he slid the ring onto my finger, I remember thinking his palms felt like sandpaper against my skin. That was the kind of man I married. He didn't talk much when he was upset. He'd sit at the kitchen table with his shoulders rounded forward, staring into a coffee mug like it might solve something for him. If he loved you, he showed it by fixing things, tightening loose screws, changing oil, shoveling snow before you woke up. He was never good with words. He was better with staying. And sometimes, staying is louder than anything you can say. The first time I really thought I couldn't take another day was the winter of '73. The economy was a mess. We lived in Michigan, and it was freezing. Freezing in a way that seeped into your bones and made even the kitchen tiles feel hostile under your feet. It was 2 days before Christmas. I'd been saving up quarters in a sugar jar for months to buy a decent turkey and some winter boots for the kids. Every spare coin from the grocery store, every bit of overtime folded into that jar like hope. I came home from work, and the house was like an icebox. The furnace was broken. He was sitting at the kitchen table, just staring at a coffee mug. I asked him if he went to the butcher to get the turkey. Took him a long time to look at me. He said, "I gave the money to Paul across the street. The auto plant laid him off. The bank is calling, and they can't even buy bread." My mind went blank. Not rage, not tears, just a quiet, cold decision forming behind my eyes. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I walked into the bedroom, pulled out an old duffel bag, and started packing my sweaters. I was done. I was taking the kids to my mother's, and I was leaving him. The zipper sounded louder than it should have in that frozen house. He stood in the doorway, didn't say a word, didn't apologize, didn't try to stop me. I carried that bag to the front door, pushed it open, and the snow was waist high. A blizzard was coming down so hard you couldn't even see the driveway. I couldn't leave, so I dropped the bag on the floor. We slept under every blanket we owned that night, shivering, not speaking a word to each other. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of metal clanking in the basement. I went down there, and he was covered in black grease. His hands were bleeding. He'd taken the entire furnace apart. We didn't have the money to call a repairman. He wiped his forehead with a dirty hand and just said, "A pipe cracked. I patched it with duct tape and some wire. Upstairs should be warming up." He didn't say sorry. I didn't bring up leaving. We ate toast for Christmas dinner. But the house was warm. When something broke back then, a furnace, a marriage, our first instinct wasn't to throw it out. We got our hands dirty, and we fixed it. Last month, the college girl next door, Chloe, came over to help me set up that Netflix thing. Sweet girl, pretty as a picture. But she was crying the whole time she held the remote. I handed her a tissue and asked her what was wrong. She said she broke up with her boyfriend. She said, "We went to Hawaii. I wanted to snorkel. He wanted to watch a game in the hotel. It rained, we had one umbrella, and he hogged it. My shoes got soaked." She looked at me and said, "Grandma, there were too many red flags. Our vibes just didn't match. It's better to end it now." So I blocked his number at the airport. I listened to her, and I didn't even know what a vibe was, but it made me think of the fall of '82. I caught a terrible flu, 103-degree fever, ached down to my bones. He was working double shifts at the plant, looked exhausted. It was pouring rain that night. I was lying in bed, miserable, crying to myself. I thought, I'm dying here, and he's on an assembly line. What is the point of this man? He doesn't even know how to pour me a glass of water. Around 10 p.m., the bedroom door opens. He walks in looking like a drowned rat. His flannel shirt is plastered to his skin, mud dripping from his jeans. He's clutching a brown paper bag against his chest. He handed it to me. Inside was a bottle of aspirin and a squished cherry pie from the corner diner. He was breathing hard. He wiped the rain off his face and said, "The truck died on Route 8. Alternator completely gave out. I ran to the 24-hour CVS to get the pills. Saw the diner was still open. Thought you could use something sweet for your stomach." The truck died 4 miles from home. He ran all of it, in a thunderstorm. He left his truck on the side of the highway. I looked at his blue, shivering lips, and suddenly, I wasn't mad anymore. I sat there looking at Chloe crying over her wet shoes, and I wanted to say something, but I held my tongue. "You young folks, you're so smart. You know all the right words, but you give up so fast. If the shoes get wet, you think it's the wrong person. If the trip isn't perfect, you think it's broken. You trade things in so quickly, you never stick around long enough to see if that person making you mad might just run 4 miles in the mud for you. Nobody matches perfectly. You just hold on to each other in the mud, and you grind it out." When we got old, the kids moved to other states. The house got quiet. You'd think we'd finally relax. No, we drove each other crazy. He had this problem he never fixed, his snoring. You have never heard a sound like it. It wasn't just breathing. It sounded like a broken lawnmower, rumbling, sputtering. Sometimes he'd pause for so long, I was terrified he couldn't catch his breath. For 10 years it kept me awake. Sometimes I'd get so mad I'd kick him right out of bed. He'd rub his eyes, grab his blanket, and go sleep out in the living room on his old lazy boy recliner. I told him every day he was going to kill me with that noise. I even thought, Lord forgive me, if that snoring just stopped forever, I'd finally get some peace. October 12th, last year. He fell asleep in that lazy boy, watching a baseball game. I threw a blanket over him. He said his chest felt tight, he'd taken an aspirin, and he just wanted to sleep right there. I was still mad at him for tracking mud onto the porch earlier that day, so I just went up to the master bedroom alone. That was the best night of sleep I'd had in a decade. No lawnmower, no rumbling, just perfect, deep silence. The next morning, I went out to wake him for pancakes. The blanket was half on the floor. His eyes were closed, his head tilted to the side. I nudged his shoulder. Nothing. I touched his hand. It was cold. I didn't scream. I didn't cry right then. I just stood there, and it felt like all the air had been sucked out of the house. The ambulance came, and then they left. That first night alone in that big bed, the room was so quiet. It was so quiet I could hear the leaves falling onto the driveway outside. It was a terrifying silence. I laid there, and out of habit, I reached my foot out to kick the man making all that noise. But my foot just hit cold, empty sheets. That was the night I realized it. The sound I hated most in this world, the sound I complained about for 10 years, was actually my safety. That sound meant that in this dark, scary world, I wasn't alone. I laid staring at the ceiling and cried out loud. I begged God if he could just bring him back, just let him lay beside me and make that deafening noise one more time. I would trade the rest of my years for it. But nobody answered me. The only sound was the refrigerator humming. I sit in this empty house now, and I think about all those times we drove each other crazy. Those moments I wanted a divorce. Looking back now, they are the only memories keeping me alive in the dark. If you have someone right now who makes you so mad you can't see straight, hear an old woman out. Don't turn your back so fast. Marriage isn't about finding someone who doesn't annoy you. It's about choosing the one whose annoyances you're willing to miss. Go check on them. Pull the blanket up over them. Ask them, hey, can we try to fix this? Having someone in this world who drives you crazy but still sits across the table from you, that is a gift. Don't wait until the house is empty, because when that day comes, you won't even have anyone left to argue with.